What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Command Point. In today's video, you can see that we are going to be looking at the new Kill Team Balance data slate, which just recently came out today. Um, Today, I'm here with Shane, and we are going to kind of walk you guys through this and take a look at all the new changes that are happening in Kill Team.
Yeah, very exciting. So this is different from the last data slate because this time we have an article preceding it. Last time it was like they just tacked it at the end of like a totally unrelated article about something else. This time they're actually kind of trying to explain the changes that they've made in this article, which I think it's cool that they're doing that. It's like they're showing attention in the same way that they kind of do with 40K, which I think is a good thing personally. um, but there's a lot here. There's basically what they're telling us, like right out of the gate, is that they're looking at win rates. So I mean, like tournament win rates. So if you've been following our channel, you know that I made a video talking about tournament win rates recently and why I don't love them as a metric. But this is what we're doing apparently. So, and they've got a little chart here, which I believe is it's the May win percentages. Um, and they say that they aim for every faction's win rate to sit between 45% and 55%. Um, according to this, we've got Corsairs at a 59% win rate, which is just
That's
insane to
unbelievable to me.
and yeah, the reason for that is because, and I think they reference it. Yeah, they reference it in the next thing, talking about how um, they've got a small number of players playing Corsair Voids Guard. So this is actually not a big sample size, but they don't show that part. I mean, they mention it in the text below. But just looking at this chart, there's no way to know that this 59% win rate is actually pretty underrepresented, and it's being kind of carried by a smaller number of players. But this is kind of what they base their changes off. That being said, there's no changes to Void Guard. I mean, if they nerf the Void Guard, that would be like devastating, right? That would be brutal.
Yeah,
Um, but there's my problem. I mean, you can watch the whole video about the tournament win rates and what I feel about that as a metric for balance. But one thing that I mean, like right here, they mention um, in that second paragraph underneath the win percentage chart, they mention how in April Hunter Clade had a win rate as low as 28%. And they kind of like acknowledge that it's a small sample size, but I don't think people that are reading this are going to realize how small that 28% win rate sample size is for Hunter Clade. It was like less than 10 players. It was actually in the video that I did. So I mean that's essentially like useless data to me. But either way, this is I mean this is the world that we're living in. These are the changes. So they explain the changes, but honestly, let's just go to the actual data slate itself at the
sure.
bottom. And Ryan, do you want to talk to us about this equipment thing? Do you just want to read that thing? Because I think that's probably the biggest part of this data slate
Oh, for sure. Um,
overall.
yeah, so equipment, you can only select each equipment with the indirect special rule, examples dynamite, crack grenade, fusion grenade, once per battle. If a friendly operative already equipped with such equipment is selected for deployment, for example, the Assault Grenadier Pathfinder, this counts as your selection. So effectively, every kill team is only going to be able to take one grenade.
Technically, yeah, you could take
Select
more, but it has to be
each.
different types. So,
Yes.
like, you can take one crack, one frag. But really, I mean, this to me, it's like all the grenades are getting punished because crack grenades and fusion grenades are stupid. But I think overall, as a change, I mean, do you think this is good? I think it's more interesting, probably.
Yeah, I think it's good because unfortunately they may have been a bit heavy-handed by putting this limitation on all of the grenades, but like I'm sick of grenade spam.
Hmm.
It's like I feel like I'm playing Modern Warfare 2 when I play Kill Team sometimes because it's just Vet Guard are spamming 3 crack grenades or whatever.
Yeah.
So overall this is a good this is a good change for the game. Um, may have been a little bit heavy-handed with having this apply to all of the grenades.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna force factions to, like, dig into their toolbox more,
Yeah.
which I think is a good thing for sure.
Yeah, because there's
Um
lots of cool like equipment choices for a lot of different
Mhm.
factions, but they were just never getting picked simply because
Yeah.
crack grenades, for the teams that have them, are just simply better, and you're wrong if you weren't taking them.
So there's basically outside of this change, there's one faction that got buffed, and there's one faction that got nerfed, and there's nothing else. The other changes on this page are just from the last data slate, which is kind of confusing, and like I kind of wish they'd separate it in some way
Yeah,
that you can like tell.
quick aside, I think in like all the 40K like balanced data slates and stuff, like they'll have like the new changes color coded to help stick
Mhm.
out and like make it, like easier to read. That way you're not having to read a whole new article to understand all the new changes. But, maybe something for the future GW.
Yeah, it could be helpful. I like that we have it all on one page, but for the purpose of like when you're first seeing it, it can be a little confusing. Hunter Clade got buffed. Everybody's been talking about how horrible Hunter Clade is, how they're the worst of the bespoke teams, and I personally think they were not the worst
Yeah.
specialist team, but they got a big buff. They got like a couple gigantic buffs. So to start, Doctrina imperatives can be selected each turning point instead of only twice per battle. So, I mean, honestly, you could have stopped here, and I think this would have been an acceptable buff to
Hmm.
make them like stay competitive. But we've actually gone way beyond that, and we're not just making them a competitive team, which I debatably they already were, but we're making them into a very good team. So the next bullet, ignore each imperative's deprecation effect during the first turning point that it is active for your kill team during the battle. This is humongous.
Yeah.
So the first turn that you have that bulwark thing, to get the extra cover die, you're not suffering a movement penalty. The first turn you get your shooting rerolls, you're not being forced to reroll crits and melee. Um, that's gigantic. Um, and you can change them more often. So there's going to be games where you never have to suffer the negative deprecations, honestly.
Hmm.
So those changes paired together are very, very good. But it gets even crazier because there's another change that might be even bigger than that. You can take one additional operative and you can include up to three gunner operatives, but they must still be equipped with different range weapons, so no like multiple plasma. And it says regardless of Sicarian operatives. So this means you can take the arc rifle, the plasma, and the transuranic arquebus if you'd like. But that's not the crazy thing about this to me. The crazy thing is that you could take one additional operative. So in the Hunter Clade rules, a lot of people don't remember this because nobody has looked at the Hunter Clade rules.
Like since they
Not a lot
came
of
out.
people, yeah, basically. Um, but the way that the Sicarian restriction works is you have to take more Skitarii than Sicarians. So if you up the team to 11 operatives, now you're still going to be taking six Skitarii, but now you can take a fifth Sicarian, and you're still fulfilling that obligation to have less Sicarians than Skitarii. So like even like the gunner, the third gunner, that's nice. You'll see that sometimes, but that's not the big thing here for me. The big thing here is that fifth Sicarian, Drosstalker or Infiltrator, whichever one you want it to be.
Hmm.
So I mean, they're changing their thing every turn. They're not suffering the bad thing on the first turn. They change it. They're getting a fifth Infiltrator or Rustalker, and they have the option to take all three gunners. So and they're the one thing that they don't have that like every other team had is now nerfed grenades. So the amount of like things that have made Hunter Clade better, and this is a massive buff. This is the most I think we've seen any team get buffed in the game.
That
I
is.
think yeah,
I think we
couldn't tell you.
gotta. I think we gotta get these guys built.
Yeah, no, we definitely do. I mean, I'm just saying, there's been an FAQ, a box release with two new factions, a data slate, and it's now summer. So I mean, tier list incoming, and
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
watch out for Hunter Clade because I think Hunter Clade are just really really good right now.
Nice.
Uh, and then do you want to talk about Void Dancers, Ryan? because they got nerfed.
Yeah, so Segorok's just strategic ploy changed the relevant part of the first sentence to read once in the resolve successful hit step of that combat when your opponent strikes with a normal hit. And then it goes on to say, Sadath ability, delete the third bullet point from the effects of adding the fourth mark to your performance tally.
Which I believe is the extra CP per turn.
I
I
think
think
so.
so. Either way, they're hitting the CP generation, which is I think that's okay, and they're making Segarax only on normal hits, which I think is the one thing that I said they should change. So I don't mind these changes. They're not. I'm glad that they didn't go crazy on the Nerf bat the way they went crazy on the buff bat for Hunter Glade.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you played more Void Dancers than me, so do you see this as like really crippling, or like how do you view this?
I really don't see it to be that crippling. Me personally, like the way that I've been playing the team, the the nerf to the Sadath ability, getting rid of that, that extra CP, is gonna be more detrimental, I think, than the change to the Segarax Jest. But this is a pretty restrained nerf, I think. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm glad they did something about Segarax. That was like the least interactive thing about the faction
Yeah.
because it's like it was really oppressive to melee teams, which are already worse than shooting teams in this game. So
Mm-hmm.
changing that, I think, is the way to go. Overall, this so I do want to like let's talk about the things that aren't here because I think that's pretty important too.
All right.
There are no novitiate nerfs,
No Vetguard nerfs.
no vet garden nerfs, no pathfinder nerfs. Kind of because one could say that the grenade changes are nerfs to those teams.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think of those three teams, the ones that care the most about the grenade change is Vetguard. I think they get hit by it the worst
Yeah.
because they don't have a grenadier. They were very frequently taking 2 or 3 crack grenades, and we're not seeing that anymore. Uh, whereas and they're like alternative options for equipment isn't like stellar. Uh,
Yeah.
Pathfinders, I don't think care that much because there was trains of thought basically with Pathfinders. There was the marker light style, and then there was the grenade spam style. And it seemed like the players that were doing the marker light style were winning more tournaments anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the grenade stuff was bad; it was definitely still good. But basically, what I'm saying is Pathfinders are equipped to live in a meta without so many grenades.
For sure.
They've proven that, and they have a grenadier, so they still get their grenades. Just they're one of each, but they get them for free.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's good for them. And then there's novitiates, who I actually think overall I would consider this a net buff for novitiates because yes, they love their crack grenades, but when you think about it, crack grenades against novitiates was one of the things that would get around their blinding light.
Right.
So they don't have they have to worry about that less now. And unlike Vetguard, novitiates have incredible equipment options that they can fill in where they were taking that extra crack. So, in my opinion, this is not at all a nerf to novitiates. I think that they're happy to see less grenades, and they're perfectly equipped to fill in those slots. Not really a nerf to pathfinders because they can do it with marker lights, and probably a small nerf, or maybe not small, maybe a little medium size nerf
Yeah. We'll
for
have
that
to
guard.
we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that pretty much wraps up this balanced data slate review, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. That way you don't miss out on any of our future videos. I think only like 63% of the people watching our videos are not subscribed. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're super close to 6,000 subscribers on the channel. I would really appreciate that. And then thank you to our Patreons, our Patreon supporters. For helping to support this channel and keep the lights on and everything. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we hope to see you again in the next one.